Did I make it back?
You're back. Okay, so I just want to confirm we have all of our board members with us. So Jean will continue again from the number 5 on the regular agenda. Go ahead, Jean.
This time, can I have a motion to re-enter into public session?
I'll make a motion. Courtney.
I'll second.
That was John. Yep.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to roll call. Mr. Maslin? Mr. Maslin?
You're muted, Jeff.
Sorry. Automatically defaults to that here. Sorry.
Mr. Nevins?
Here.
Mrs. Wilson?
Present.
Mrs. Jaskula?
Here.
Mr. Dyfendorfer?
Here.
Okay,
You
you can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and at this time, we could take a moment of silence for all those that have lost their lives due to COVID-19. Okay. All right, now we'll move into the reorganizational meeting.
Everybody hear Jean okay?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'll start with administering the oath to Mr. Nevins. He's reelected to a 5-year term on the Board of Education. Mr. Nevins, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of board member according to the best of your ability?
I do.
And we will make arrangements for the required signatures via mail, or we'll schedule times for folks to come in to do that.
Okay, then we'll move to section B, election of board officers. This time I'll ask for nominations for president of the Board of Education.
I think that was me. I nominate Jeff Maslin for president.
Or nominated Jeff.
I second.
Okay, to nominate Jeff, Mr. Maslin. All right. I will now administer the oath to Mr. Maslin. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member according to the best of your ability?
I do.
Great. Okay, and now next we'll move to nominations for vice president.
I nominate Bill Nevins for vice president.
Second.
Okay. Second, thank you, Mr. All righty. Okay, and now I'll read the oath to Mr. Nevins. Do you solemnly swear that the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member according to your best of your ability?
I do.
Okay. All right. And we'll move to C, Superintendent of Schools. And I will now give Maureen Dr. Long the oath. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of superintendent according to the best of your ability?
I do.
Okay. And at this point, the meeting goes back to
Mr.
the board
Maslin.
president, Mr. Maslin.
Thank you. So we'll go right into appointments, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so under appointments, we have the following appointments recommended for the 2020-2021 school year for school physician. Koinonia Primary Care,
Nope.
Inc., Dr.
Bill, I'm sorry, Jeff, you should have a list under D, the first ones. I'm sorry, it's D on the first page, appointment of school district officials.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went right above I went right past that. Sorry. Appointment of school district officers. The following school district officers are recommended for the 2020-2021 school year. School business manager, district treasurer, Kathy Seatek, deputy treasurer, Jennifer Canabo, check signer, it says. District clerk, Jeannie Maniply. Data protection officer, Dr. Maureen Long. Data privacy officer, Dr. Maureen Long. And Medicaid compliance officer, Megan Montreux. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education, the Menands Union Free School District approved the above listed appointments for the 2020-2021 school year. The superintendent administered the oath of office to the district officers as listed. Resolution.
Did we get a second? John?
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries.
All right, now I have to read the oath of office to those who are present, and we will follow up with those who are not. So do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of New York State, and that you will fully discharge the duties of the district office as assigned according to the best of your ability? I have Kathy Seatek in front of me.
I do.
Kathy is a yes. I have Jean Mentiply in front of me.
I do.
I will speak for myself. I will. And Jen, are you able to speak and accept your oath?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. And we will follow up with Ms. Amatrano at a later date. All right. Carry on, Mr. Maslin.
There, good. All right, so we'll continue with appointments to where I was before. The following appointments are recommended for the 2020-2021 school year. Our school physician, Koinonia Primary Care, Dr. Robert Paglow, MD, to serve as healthcare professionals with an annual contract of $1,000 per year. And we'll move along to other appointments, which are the Committee on Special Education, the Committee on Preschool Special Education, as listed.
There's a
We've got-
spelling error on Megan Amatrano's name where she's listed as the chairperson. There's just an H missing. It's just something I just noticed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, our audit committee as listed, Ms. Brennan, Mr. Kelly, and Mr. Price. Our hearing officer, the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District will follow the state regulations when an impartial hearing officer is needed for a CSE, CPSE. If you're not on, could you mute? I'm getting a little feedback from people. There we go, it's better. Title IX coordinator, Rachel Rosetto. Title IX investigators, Rachel Rosetto and Jennifer Canabo. Section 504 compliance coordinator, Megan Montrano. Our ADA Act designee, Megan Montrano. Dignity for All Schools Act coordinators, Jennifer Canabo and Sherry Vandenberg. Our central treasurer of the Extracurricular Activities Fund, Jean Mentiply. Purchasing agent, Maureen Long. Deputy purchasing agent, Jennifer Canavo. Chemical hygiene officer, Lorenz Herman. Records access officer, Kathy Seatek. Records management officer, Kathy Seatek. Our McKinney-Vento liaison, Sherry Vandenberg. Asbestos hazard emergency response designee, school pesticide officer, Jose Calderon. Claims auditor, Michael Wolf, per enclosed contract. Legal counsel, Guercio and Guercio LLP, per enclosed contract. Our auditors, Weston Company, independent auditors. If there are no questions, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the above listed appointments for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution carries. All right, we've got designations. The following designations are recommended for the 2020-2021 school year, but the regular monthly meetings of the Menands Union Free School District School Board of Education will be held on the following dates at 6:30 p.m. as listed. I think there's only a couple Tuesday, Wednesday in there. All the rest are Mondays. That KeyBank be the official depository, that the Times Union be the official newspaper, that the superintendent and staff be authorized to prepare and submit applications for federal programs and to accept federal monies that may result from the filing of such applications, with acceptance being subject to final approval by the Board of Education. The person designated to execute Public Law 81-874 for the district will be the superintendent of schools, and that the mileage rate for approved use of personal vehicles for school business will be set at the fixed rate allowed by the federal IRS. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve designations as listed for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Authorizations. The following authorizations are recommended for the 2020-2021 school year, that the superintendent and the school business manager / district treasurer, in the absence of the superintendent, certify payroll, that the superintendent and the deputy purchasing agent, in the absence of the superintendent, approve purchase orders as the purchasing agent, that the superintendent be approved to authorize contracts for the school district up to a limit of $10,000, to establish a general petty fund cash account in the amount of $100 and to designate Susan McCormick as the custodian of the petty cash account. The superintendent must approve expenditures from this account. That the district will hold membership in the New York State School Boards Association, Capital District School Development Association, New York State Association of School Business Officials, and the New York State Council of School Superintendents. Approve the superintendent's attendance at district superintendent meetings and authorize the superintendent to approve the attendance of other employees at conferences, and for the superintendent to make necessary intra and inter-fund budget transfers to a limit of $10,000. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the above listed authorizations for the 2020-2020 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. All right, bonding of personnel. The following bonding of personnel is in effect for the 2020-2021 school year. The school business manager / district treasurer and deputy treasurer are bonded in the amount of $1 million. All employees are bonded in the amount of $1 million. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the bonding limits as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We will now move to regular meeting agenda number 8. And that is comments from the public on agenda items. Just a reminder for those members of the public in attendance, this is one of 2 opportunities afforded members of the public to comment on or inquire about agenda items. Members of the public also have an opportunity at the end of the evening's agenda to ask questions or voice concerns or comments on matters not formally noted on the agenda, and we do appreciate everyone's cooperation.
And
Are
just
there
a
any-
reminder, Jeff, that people that are in attendance tonight, if they have comments they would like to make, they can be made at boecomments@menands.org. boecomments with an S @menands.org.
And if we don't hear from you right now, don't worry, at the end, we have a time for that as well. Do we want to read those questions that we got already, or we want to wait till the end?
Well, those 2 comments that we've received already, from what I can tell, are on agenda items, so they would wait till the second public comment period.
No, they're on agenda items.
They're on agenda
Oh,
items, so
okay.
we read them now because they're,
Okay.
I mean, the second one is, but it is, I mean, it is not related to this particular meeting, but I'll read them anyway.
Go right ahead.
All right, so the first one comes in from Steve Boulay, who's a community member. Thank you for your note, Steve. With the announcement today from the governor, I hope plans are being made to reopen the school for an in-person education to resume this fall, along with a solid backup plan for true online learning similar to the universities. While I know it is not as easy as I am stating, but we need a daily schedule with mandatory Zoom classes for kids to have regular schedule with attendance, mandatory webcams from the Chromebooks. There can still be group learning with group participation using Google Tools and webcams from the Chromebooks. We have the technology today to accomplish these tasks to make our education system work, no matter if we are or not are in class or not. Thank you for all your hard work putting together a plan for our students. They need us now more than ever. Thanks, Steve Boulay. Thank you, Steve. I know Dr. Long will be going into some of the specifics around reopening as far as some of the information that we have today. I'm not sure if you want to comment on that right now, Dr. Long, or wait till you have your time.
Yeah, what I would say is that that's our first discussion item, our only discussion item tonight, and I am going to speak pretty comprehensively to it. Hopefully I will address Steve's questions. Certainly, Steve, if I don't hop back on at the public comment at the end, if there are any particular items I didn't address.
Okay. Second one being from Steve Boulay as well. In review of your meeting minutes agenda, I see there are, again, numerous change orders from the building project. I find this incredibly concerning that there have been so many change orders throughout this project, increasing the cost. It seems to me that companies hired must shoulder some of the blame and burden with these change orders. It seems did not do a thorough job in planning this project. I'm concerned these companies underbid the project, not being able to deliver, and now are adding in items that should have been planned for initially, costing the taxpayers more now. The project was underway, knowing the additions were necessary. One area of poor planning that surprised me when I first visited the new wing, noticing they did not pipe in water foundation for the middle schoolers. I hope there's a plan to at least replace the ancient water fountains near the gym. Thanks, Steve Boulay. I know we'll be talking about that as well. I will only comment on one thing, that actually our project is coming in under budget, so it's not going to be over budget, but I'll let Dr. Long speak to specifics about that later when we're talking about those types of things, unless you have something you want to add.
No, again, I think I'll address those concerns. We go through the change orders, and if we did not, and Steve wants to hop back on, I can address particular questions he might have.
Okay. All right, so let me go to. Nothing else has come in for me. I don't know if you see anything, Dr. Long. I don't see anything in the chat.
I don't see any others at this time. Nope.
Okay. So we'll move along to the approval of the minutes. Are there any questions about the approval of the minutes from our last meeting? If there are none, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accept the minutes of the June 22nd, 2020 meeting.
Ken,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move along to business matters, discussion item. And there it is, the reopening.
All right, thank you. And I'm really going to, if a lot of our folks are parents on board, this should not be new information to them, because a lot of it mirrors the two communications that were sent out on June 26th and again on July 10th. And really, our process for planning for reopening started even before we closed. I began meeting regularly on March 13th. Which was Friday the 13th, the last day our students were in session. We moved to we moved our superintendent's conference day to that Monday, and then by Wednesday of the following week, the governor had indicated that we would not be in session. At that time, I think we all hoped that would be a short-term closure, but at the same time, we recognized that we had to plan for beyond a few weeks, what ended up being the end of the school year. And also what reopening could and should look like to ensure the health, safety, well-being, and education of both our students and our staffs as we started the school year. So as I reported in the June update, I have been meeting regularly with both superintendents and assistant superintendents. That started out daily, and now it is still 2 to 3 times a week to talk about the instructional pieces of that, and with the superintendents, some of the larger logistical pieces of that. At the same time, technology directors are meeting, and we have a representative at that table as well. Business officials are meeting. Kathy is representing us at those conversations, along with HR specialists. We have Rachel sitting in on those conversations. So there's some big picture conversations going on across all of those facets. At the same time, Mrs. Schroeder, while she was here, was meeting weekly with each grade level band, K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8, around their planning based on the BOCES instructional modules, but also, and importantly, along with Mrs. Vandenberg and our CSE chairperson, around those students who we were not connecting with. And that's when we implemented the case management model, so that if there were students we were not connecting with or were not connecting with to the level that we had hoped to, we had a person assigned to them. And our school nurse even came in on that in certain cases. We have been having meetings now around the reopening pieces, including all the groups I just talked about. Also internally, we've been meeting on Wednesdays with a core group of our teachers that cross all grade levels as well as special areas. And as I mentioned in prior meetings and in the communications, we're really looking at 3 things: the possibility of opening as usual, the possibility of opening remote, and the possibility of somewhere in the middle. Jen Canavo, as our principal, has now begun to participate also in those conversations, as well as in the conversations with the assistant superintendents across the region. In the June 26th communication to parents, we asked for parents who wanted to become part of that conversation, and I want to thank those who expressed their interest in doing so. We conducted the first meeting with them last Wednesday night, and we are scheduled again for this Wednesday night. And it was very good conversation and very good feedback that we will take into consideration as we plan. And that group of parents also represented K-8 and students of varying needs and backgrounds. So I think it's a pretty solid group that we are working with. I mentioned in the mailing that went out at the end of last week, we were anticipating far more information this week from the governor's office, from the state education department, from the Department of Health, and from the Board of Regents. And we saw some of that come through today. I think I have about 400 pages printed off that I've begun reading and will continue to work through. And it sounds like the intent is to have kids in school when they can be in school. So we are really, and have been, continued to look at the logistics around that. We actually have a template that we're using for each facet, from instructional to facilities to transportation. What am I missing, Kath? School lunch is another piece, and really going through what is it we would typically do, how can we do it within the parameters that we are being provided, what is the professional development needs that come along with doing it in a different manner, what are the equipment or materials and supplies needs to be able to do it in that manner. And we are working through that process right now. And we'll have to do so pretty quickly based on what I heard today. We were anticipating that, however, and we should be well prepared to have those plans into SED within the timeframes. If the numbers stay as the numbers have been, it seems like we will be in person. One thing I've shared with our teacher group, I've shared with the board in an update, and I shared with our parent group last week. One of the pieces that puts my mind at ease a little bit is an exercise we finalized last week. And that was a physical capacity walkthrough of our buildings. And looking at if we have to adhere to social distancing, which we will likely have to do, with students 6 feet apart and teachers 6 feet away from students, which we all understand is not the ideal learning conditions, but do we have enough space to put our kids in the building? The good news is yes, we do. I know other districts are struggling and are looking at having to do something different with their high school students because they need that high school space. I think this is in large part due to we now have more space in the building than we have ever had. But basically our spaces range in anywhere from 8 to 23 to 25 students that we can fit in them. And now we are working kind of to look at our class sizes and fit them accordingly. We have stayed away from so far using spaces like the gymnasium as a classroom setting and like the cafeteria. You know, I would hope we get to a point where we can utilize the gymnasium for what it is intended to be used for. I don't think we will be there right away, but we want to leave that space available. And even though students will likely not be eating in the cafeteria, there will be food preparation and dissemination of food from that area. So we want to leave that untouched as well. So right now we have more than enough capacity for the number of students we have enrolled, even though you'll see at the end of the meeting that number has gone up. So I'll circle back. Wednesdays is kind of our big meeting day. I meet in the morning on Wednesdays with both assistant superintendents and superintendents. We then have our teacher meeting during the day and our parent meeting at night. I'm very hopeful that with what we heard come out today and what will be coming out the next 2 days over the Board of Regents, that by those Wednesday conversations this week, we'll have a lot better direction and really those guardrails we've been waiting for to know where we have to operate and how we have to operate. So with that said, I will open it up to the board for any further questions or clarification they may have.
Yes, so I have one thing that I think would be helpful that I've been hearing from around the state. It's one thing to prepare our spaces adequately for learning and for the children to be in school during the day, but understanding a full simulation from getting on the bus to the cadence of the full school day to getting on the bus home, I think would be important for administration, teachers, and the parent committees, what have you, and also inviting our legislator to this so they know what we're doing and they can actually see what we're doing. I think that will help us maybe tighten up some areas we may not think about. It may have to be done a couple times, but I think it's worth the effort to really take the simulation piece to what an elementary or a middle school child would go through during a day as an adult, as we prepare. The second thing that I wanted to mention was, you know, having a goal for reopening. Obviously, we want to reopen the best way we can, but having some guiding principles around that. And I've assembled a few documents from some school districts that I think may be helpful. We're getting correspondence to the board, to the parent committees, to the community, letters go home, and that's all great. That's keeping everybody up to date. But if we have one succinct document that's really our kind of our guiding principles that gives us a comprehensive direction for all the stakeholders, I think would be helpful. And I can give you those documents. They're very tight. They're quick. We can put them on our website. We can update them. That way we would be able to then let everybody in the community know at all times what we're doing. Even though we may not have submitted our plan yet, they understand our guiding principles, like we're keeping within the budget that we passed, we're doing everything we can for instruction, but we're using, you know, 5 or 6 guiding principles around how we are reopening. I think that would be helpful for all stakeholder groups within the community, just to bring a comprehensive direction for all the stakeholders.
Thanks, Jeff.
Can I chime in?
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff. Right, so you mentioned it and I didn't get a chance to say it. Budget's going to be one of them. I don't know if that's my computer that's giving feedback or not.
Yeah, we all have to mute, besides Bill.
Oh.
Sorry, I just couldn't hear you.
Budget's going to be the biggest thing. I think our community is going to have to be aware of where we are with the budget and moving forward with COVID regulations and what needs to be done. And I'm sure the school is handling that and taking a look at it. My question went back to, I know our special ed kids and summer program have been going to Colony or Shaker or one of the Colony schools for education over the summer. Can you explain how that's been working and how that's handled with transportation and how those kids are doing in the classroom?
I can tell you what I know so far. Not all of our kids go to this program. So we have students who are in out-of-district placements throughout the year. Some of them are continuing with their out-of-district placements, Wildwood being one of them. Crossroads are both doing remote, however. We had some of our students who were scheduled to go to East Greenbush. East Greenbush decided not to take kids other than their own, which I can completely understand, given that they're trying to figure it out too. So we did work with North Colony for those students. Some of those students did choose to attend North Colony, and that began last Monday. Some of our students, though, were still apprehensive, as were their parents, and they are receiving remote instruction from our own staff members. So the students, we worked very closely with Star and Strand, our transportation department. A little bit of luck, I guess, that some of the children that are traveling to program are siblings, so they can be together on a bus in closer proximity. And we were able to arrange the runs so that we could accomplish the social distancing and get everybody to and from school when they needed to be there. All reports from North Colony is that their program is going very well. I'm very pleased to have the working relationship we do with them, because some of the things that we were talking about and that Jeff mentioned with the simulation and them running a program this summer will help us to anticipate maybe some of those things that we weren't. But I'm also hearing from other districts across the region and primarily out of those superintendents conversations that I participate in weekly, that things are going very, very well.
Thank you, Dr. Long. That's good to hear. Obviously, we want things to go well and move along in the forward motion. It's not going to be good if we jump in and things move along. We got to shut things down. You mentioned safety, and I was going to bring that up, and I might as well mention it now. Obviously, we're looking at our teachers and their safety in the building, maintaining distance and what the classroom is going to look like. I just hope that they get some advanced communication and advanced information sent out to them prior to, you know, their prepping of a classroom on what's expected or what the guidelines are, where they're going to be for the school day, things along those lines. And I'm sure that's being worked out. But my fear is that our limited great staff will be exposed in a building filled back up with 350 people, and this thing's going to pop out. But we're optimistic and we hope it happens. My last quick comment on that is I miss coaching the second and third graders in basketball. When can I do that again?
I don't know, Bill. I
Okay.
don't know. And I'm going to be honest with you, and it came up as part of the parent meeting too, those extracurricular things. I think we certainly realize those are important. And another key piece that I didn't mention before, and I apologize for not doing it, is the social emotional well-being of kids. But I think our first primary goal has to get kids in the building for instruction in a safe manner, and then look at those other things as we roll out a little bit further. And I'm not taking anything off the table at this point in time, but we are to some extent going to have to.
Understandable. Thank you, Dr. Long.
I have some questions also, but if it's stuff that you don't know yet, that's fine. Just say you don't know yet. First, you said we have enough space in the building for all the kids. So I'm assuming you mean all at one time. I know some schools are looking at sending kids every other day, that kind of thing. You're saying we have enough space to have all of them at once?
So yes, I would say all at once. However, what we are looking at is the transportation implications. So we may be looking at staggered start and end times at this point. And we are early in that planning process. And I'll add to that, one of the things we are looking at too, and again, we want to hope for the best and plan for the worst, but the reality is we could start and in a very short period of time, we could then have to stop. And that was pretty evident in what the governor said today, and he's got some pretty strong parameters in there, some guidelines, again, we can work within. So one of the things we're trying to be very thoughtful of as we plan, that even though we're planning for in-person instruction, to be able to then take and transition whatever we are doing in person to a remote environment with as less upheaval as we can. You know, we know when we move to remote this year, we can't run remote school like we would regular school. That's just not feasible from a lot of perspectives, but that's what we tried to do pretty quickly. We tried to do what we are doing. So in essence, we're trying to envision in large part what in-person looks like, knowing that the potential exists that it could go to remote again. Did that answer your question, Courtney?
Yeah, I appreciate that, the being able to make the transportation piece, but you answered that. The other question was, I didn't know if it was our decision or if it was in the guidance from the state whether students would have to be wearing masks when they come back.
So interestingly enough, today, before the governor came on and when the Board of Regents put out some initial documentation, the Times Union headline came out that all students have to be wearing masks in school. My understanding at this point is if we can achieve social distancing, they don't need to be wearing masks all the time. Now, that said, every student will be expected or will be expected to have a mask. If they can't have one will be provided for them and they will always be available. That's kind of some of the granular stuff we've got to look closely at and make sure what we're thinking matches up with the regulations. The latest document today was one from the New York State Department of Health that came out late this afternoon specific to some things. I haven't had a chance to look through that. So I think we have to dig a little deeper and read a little more before we know that for certain. Everybody on this call has kids. It's going to be hard to have some kids be in a mask all day long. It's going to be hard for some adults to be in a mask all day long. Certainly we will work within the parameters we are set up. At present, my interpretation is as long as folks are social distance, they don't necessarily need to be wearing the mask, but have to have it available and on those occasions or in those situations where social distancing can't be achieved. So to that end, I'll say too, and we've been talking about this with the teachers and we talked about this with the parent group. It's not my expectation, for instance, that middle school classes will change. Kids are not going to move throughout the day. Teachers will move throughout the day. So for what it's worth.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was hoping, is that if, at least when they're sitting at their desks, maybe they won't have to wear them if we're not required by the governor.
Dr. Long, I have a question regarding if there's planning being done for families who are not comfortable to send their children back. Are we planning for in person, but then for our families that are not comfortable sending children yet?
So I would say yes and no, Jen. I think we have to wait for a little more guidance and direction on that, what our obligation is. Certainly, I think my personal opinion of our obligation as a district is we have to educate our kids, regardless of where they sit and whether they are compromised or uncompromised. So we will do what we can. So that's the other piece of the wraparound of that instructional piece. If we have all these kids in all of these rooms but we have a handful of kids who aren't in the room for whatever reason, they can't be or they choose not to be, how then do we translate that learning to them? And it goes in large part to some planning and preparation. And again, that thoughtfulness, if we are looking at developing our instructional program so that it can move from live to remote pretty fluidly, then in the mix of that should be, if a student can't be in front of us physically, how can we provide that instruction? To that end, we actually have almost all of the teachers in our planning group are participating in a professional development opportunity through BOCES on Thursday morning of this week, which deals with asynchronous versus synchronous education, which means in-person live versus remote live versus remote other than live. So I'm optimistic at what they come back with to bring to the conversation around that. And also we have begun to pull in some of the technology that would be required in addition to our existing Chromebooks with cameras that would allow potentially a teacher to broadcast either out to a student who is not here, or in the event we have a classroom, say, of third graders where there's 25 students, but those 25 students have to be across 2 rooms in order to achieve social distancing, that the teacher could potentially broadcast from one room to the other, but still on an alternating basis be live with that whole group of students. Did that answer your question, Jen?
Early stages, thank you.
Yeah, you might also have students, I'm assuming our sick policy is going to look a little bit different. So you might have kids that are well enough to learn, but because of precautions or whatever, can't be in the classroom. So students might need to have access to the remote learning too, since I'm assuming we're going to have more kids out, more sick days than we have in the past.
And actually, to that end and to both those questions, we had begun to develop a survey and we're pretty close to being ready to send it out last week. But then when we heard this guidance was coming this week, both from the governor's office and from the Board of Regents, we held off on that. And I put that specifically in that July 10th because I didn't want to put us or our parents in a position where we asked a question, they told us what they wanted, and then our hands were tied and we could not give it to them. So I think once we get through these documents over the next couple of days, we'll really be able to hone that down. And among those questions would be things like, is your student unable to come to school because potentially for a medical reason? Would you be uncomfortable sending your child to school? And right down to, even with social distancing on the school bus, would it be your intent to have your child ride the bus? There's a lot of logistical questions like that. And we could have, we have 200 plus families, we could have 200 plus different answers to those questions too.
Well, I have to say, Jen stole my question. So I think it's also really important that we plan for this social and emotional well-being of our kids coming back. I think they're going to be different kids than went out of school on March 13th. And I think we need to be very conscious and very patient and very conscious of that as we make these plans. I think there's a potential tendency to, or the potential to focus on sort of the nuts and bolts of social distancing and, instructional stuff. But I think we also need to have our kids in a place, sort of socially and emotionally to be able to learn. And I think that's something I hope does not get lost in sort of all of the 400 pages of guidance from the states.
And I do think that has been, at least in our internal conversations, at the forefront of everything we've been talking about, and in particular with our instructional staff. I will also say, historically, we have been a responsive classroom school, which has this really creates an opportunity for us, I think, to take that, that it's not a program, it's a philosophy, and incorporate it as we return to school, and in particular, in light of what you're mentioning, John. And we are very fortunate that Jen, as our new principal, is also trained in responsive classroom and has done training for other districts across the country. We had been moving, responsive classroom had been used with somewhat regularity at our K-5. And then a few years ago, they implemented a 6-8 model too. So I really think we're going to use that as the framework within which we do that social emotional. And actually, in preparation for our meeting with the teachers Wednesday, Jen and I are finalizing right now a draft schedule. And within that draft schedule, both at the front end and the back end of each day, we are incorporating kind of those opportunities to incorporate that social emotional learning through the auspices of responsive classroom.
Yeah, that's great. I'm pleased to hear that. It probably would be in our interest to sort of loop parents in a little bit better on what is involved in responsive classroom, just so they have an understanding of sort of how the school is situating their kids to respond to going back to school and that kind of thing. So.
Anyone else relative to reopening?
All right, we can move along then. Let me just go to it here. All right, business office for information. Enclosed for the information of the board are copies of warrant numbers 4 and 5, Fund EC, 25, 26, and 27, Fund H, 62, 63, 66, and 68, Fund A for the month of June 2020. We also have business office for approval. We've got some change orders. Dr. Long, do you want to talk about those?
Yep,
Gonna go
actually,
straight to those.
we've also got a green sheet, but let me back up a little bit to business
Oh.
information.
Yeah, why don't we, okay, I'll get the green sheet up. Hold on.
Okay, any questions on the warrants from anyone?
I just had one question. I don't think I've ever seen it before on our list. Moody's Investment Services. I just didn't know what that
Bond
was.
rating. That had to do with our bond rating for the bond we just did on the building project. So we could get that wonderful rate that we ended up getting because of our wonderful Moody's bond rating.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Long.
All right, so you want me to go to the green sheet, number 10, business matters? Yeah? Okay, gotcha. So the green sheet that you guys got today from Kathy, under number 10, business matters, business office for approval. First item under business office for approval, the reserve transfer to June 2020. We've got several resolutions in there. Are there any questions about those since it was sent today?
I did send language in the update on Friday that kind of explained this, but certainly Kathy is
Right.
here to my left if there are any questions.
Doesn't look like there are any questions, so can we read the resolutions, please?
I have no idea whose turn it is.
Who's up?
Jen is up.
Jen, you're up according to.
Me? Okay, thank you. Be it resolved that the authorization of the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District be given to transfer up to $40,000 to the repair reserve for the 2019-2020 school year. Be it resolved that the author, do I read them all?
No,
I
do
think
one
we
at a
have-
time.
Got to do it one at a time.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move on to the next resolution.
Be it resolved that the authorization of the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District be given to transfer up to $7,000 to the Employee Benefit Accrued Liability Reserve for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Move along to the next one.
Be it resolved that the authorization of the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District be given to transfer up to $58,000 to the TRS reserve for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. On to the next one.
Authorization of the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District be given to transfer up to $38,000 to the ERS reserve for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move along to reserve transfer for the 2020-2021 school year. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District authorizes any retiree sick and vacation payouts during the 2020-2021 school year from the Employee Benefit Accrued Liability Reserve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries, so we'll go back now to number 10, correct?
Back to the change orders. If you are.
Yep, so we are at business office for approval, the change orders.
So,
Are there any questions?
Hello?
do you want me to make my comments first or entertain questions first, Jeff? And Dan Woodside is on the call, just so you know.
Comments?
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
I meant your comments. Did you want
Oh.
to explain that? I saw the email. I'll just ask quickly. So a lot of these change orders, again, electrical's killing me, but this is school-specific requested change orders for items that were needed or found out after the fact that we needed. It wasn't a necessarily, I know what Steve's question was, it wasn't necessarily misbid items. These change orders were specific requests for things the school needed, yes?
For the most part, and let me go through them item by item, because though the board has the information, the public does not. So if we go through these in order, the first one from bunk off for 383567, that was actually a structural deficiency found when a wall was removed in reconfiguring the district office. So until you take the wall down, you don't know that the structural beam did not have the necessary integrity and needed to be replaced. So that one wasn't specifically a district request, it was a found condition. Now that said, keep in mind, and I know electrical is a bit of a sore spot for folks, keep in mind we building contingencies for each of the 6 subcontracts. So we know there will be found items. So we have one built into each individual contract based on, you know, what the market typically shows or what situations typically show. In addition to that, we have reserve funding in place for the project in its entirety. So to Jeff's point, though we've seen some upticks in some things and some costs, we had planned for those. And with the exception of electrical, we are still within those contingencies and have not dipped into the extra reserve, for lack of a better word, that we had. So we are still well within what the public approved. So then if I move on to the next couple of items, C002, 52, and 53, that had to do with something we would have liked to do. And if you remember at the front end of the project, we had to take some things out to stay within what we wanted to bring to the taxpayers. But I'll be honest with you too, these next two are somewhat related to COVID being in the situation we are in. The K2 wing was really not being touched at all as far as those classrooms, with the exception of the new addition for the preschool room, which turned out to be a special ed room. So those K2 classrooms all had carpeting in them, and carpeting that was well worn and ultimately would have needed to be replaced. With where we were with the project, we were able to take the tile flooring that has been done through all of the other renovated and added spaces and carry that through the hallway and into all of those K2 classrooms. So that is 052 and 053. 41 and 42, which are electrical, had to do with the office spaces that went into what were existing classrooms. Were not planned to have clocks and or PAs. I felt it very necessary from a safety perspective, because it's those PAs we use in the event of an emergency. And there will be kids and there will be parents in those rooms at times to outfit those. So it's electrical, but again, it was at district request, Bill, as you said. 43, which is an electrical one, is also at district expense, and it goes back to those same K2 classrooms. And it ties into that social emotional well-being that we've talked about. One of the ongoing things raised by our staff over many years, even prior to the project, is the ability to dim lights in a classroom for kids who have a sensitivity to that for any variety of reasons or in certain circumstances. Our lights as they exist are pretty much on or off, or every other one is on or off. In any of the renovated or addition spaces, we put dimmable lighting in there so they can go from all the way down to varieties of brightness. We were able to, again, based on where we were with the project, request that that same lighting be put in the K2 classrooms that were not slated to get that. So that is number 43. The DLC 44 was minor, and the BPI piping ones were minor adjustments to a staff toilet room and ventilation requirements. In that it was an existing bathroom many, many years ago, but the codes for bathrooms have changed, so some ventilation adjustments had to be made. That's the electrical. And that was also one of the spaces where asbestos needed to be abated from the insulation around a pipe, so that insulation had to be replaced.
Thank you for the explanation. Hope that answers Steve's questions. I'm not one to say kids in K2 classrooms don't need lights, and I might have a strong feeling about the water fountain in the middle school wing, but I'm sure at some point in time, I'll just donate the money and we'll put one in.
Actually, I raised that, I think, 2 meetings ago. We did have CS Arch come through and talk about where we had the piping for one in the middle school, and also the replacement of all existing. We are waiting for the quote on that, and certainly if, again, right now we're ahead of schedule and under budget. Kathy's going to kick me under the table for saying that out loud because I'll jinx us. But if we get to that point, and we're close now, folks, we are really, really close, that we have some of those things and they fit within the parameters of what the voters approved and what SED will approve as a change order, then we certainly still have all those things on the table to talk about.
All right, so we need a resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approve the following change orders as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along to 2020-2021 SA 10, grades
Jeff,
9 through
can I
12 education. What?
chime in real quick? Do you think we need Dan Woodside to stay on the call anymore, or can we cut him loose?
I don't see any additional questions from the public on anything at this time, unless anyone disagrees. I would say that, looking through the rest of the agenda, I think we're good.
Thank you, folks, and we're here to help with any reopening plans that you need any help on. Good luck with all that.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, let me get my spot here. So we're going to 2020-2021 SA 10, grades 9 through 12 educational services, Water Elite City School District. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the SA 10 between Menands Union Free School District and the Water Elite City School District for students in grades 9 through 12, the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Resolution carries. 2020-2021 intermunicipal agreement, grades 9 through 12 educational services, North Colony Central School District. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the intermunicipal agreement between Menands Union Free School District and the North Colony Central School District for students in grades 9 through 12 for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move along to 2020-2021 intermunicipal agreement, grades 9 through 12 educational services for the South Colony Central School District. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the intermunicipal agreement between Menands Union Free School District and the South Colony Central School District for students in grades 9 through 12 for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. 2020-2021 intermunicipal agreement, technology services, South Colony Central School District. Can I get a resolution?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the intermunicipal agreement for the technology services between Menands UFSD and the South Colony Central School District for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along to BOCES cooperative bidding and purchasing. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District adopt the BOCES cooperative bidding contract and food and cafeteria supplies cooperative bidding resolutions for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I will abstain. This is Capital Region BOCES. Even though I have a spouse that works for Capital Region BOCES, this does not fall under her purview or the departments that she represents. But I will still abstain. Amsure, formerly known as Adirondack Trust Insurance Contract Renewal. Enclosed for the board is a memo from Mrs. Cetek with information in regards to contract renewal. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the contract renewal with Amsure Insurance for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Move along to preliminary BOCES AS7 contract for the 2021 services school year. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the attached preliminary AS7 contract for the 2020-2021 services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I will abstain. I have a spouse that works for Capital Region BOCES. This does not affect anything, but I will still abstain. Final BOCES AS7 contract for the 2019-2020 service year. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the attached final AS7 contract for the 2019-2020 services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carry, I'm sorry, before motion carries, I will abstain once again for the same reasons I have before. Resolution carries. Special Education Consulting Services Agreement, Lorraine D. Thompson. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approve the Special Education Consulting Services Agreement provided by Lorraine D. Thompson.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along to personnel matters, appointments. Provisional keyboard specialist, Elizabeth Mantiply. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District hereby appoints Elizabeth Mantiply as provisional keyboard specialist in the competitive class of the civil service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Food service worker, lunch aid, custodians, and clerical. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the following individuals be appointed for the 2020-2021 school year as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move along to Board of Education matters, CSE, CPSE recommendations. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Moving along to substitute teachers fully cleared. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the following substitute teachers for the 2020-2021 school year. Melinda Waldron.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. Substitute teachers fully cleared and substitute teachers. BOCES. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the reappointment of all substitute teachers for the 2020-2021 school year who were previously appointed through 6/30/20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I will abstain. Resolution carries. Substitute teacher compensation. Dr. Long recommends that the board set the substitute teacher pay rate as follows. Per diem rate, $100, long-term up to 6 weeks, $180 per day, long-term beyond 6 weeks per MAT contract. Can I get a resolution, please?
Me again? Yes, me. I'm really off my game today. Be it resolved.
Want to do all the reading that I've done?
Goodness. I know. Well, you're due, Jeff. You're due. Every year, it's your turn. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the substitute teacher pay rate as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry. Resolution carries. Let's see here. Substitute teaching assistant compensation. Dr. Long recommends that the board set the substitute teaching assistant pay at $100 per day. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the substitute teaching assistant pay rate at $100 per day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along to Wildwood School Special Education Services Contract, the 2020-2021 extended school year program, and closed for the board are copies of the 2021 Special Education Services Contract from the Wildwood School for a student attending the extended school year program. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2020-2021 Special Education Services Contract from the Wildwood School for the extended school year program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. North Colony Central School District Special Education Services Contract 2021 Extended School Year Program. Closed for the board are copies of the 2020-2021 Special Education Services Contract from the North Colony Central School District for students attending the Extended School Year Program. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2020-2021 Special Education Services Contract from the North Colony Central School District for the extended school year program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Crossroads Center for Children Special Education Services Contract 2020-2021 Extended School Year Program. Enclosed for the board are copies of the 2020-2021 Special Education Services Contract from the Crossroads Center for Children for a student attending the Extended School Year Program. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2020-2021 Special Education Services Contract from the Crossroads Center for Children for the extended school year program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move along to Health Services Contract. Closed, please find a copy of the 2020-2021 Health Services Contracts for students attending private or parochial schools in the following districts. East Greenbush School District, 7 students in the amount of $5,439.77. Lansingburg Central School District, 2 students in the amount of $1,236.96. The residence of the students has been verified. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2020-2021 health service contracts for students attending private or parochial schools as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries.
Jeff, before we move on, can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
High school contracts, is it later in the year, or do we still have with Tech Valley or Green Island anymore?
Green Island, we have not heard from as far as next year. Tech Valley falls under our BOCES bill, so we don't have to approve that contract. That gets added to our FS10. Or it's not called the FS10.
Yeah, Tech Valley is a BOCES school, so it's not a separate school district. So, right. Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
All right, student matters. The total estimated enrollment for the 2020-2021 school year to date is 311 students. This includes confirmed students for the incoming kindergarten class, 33 kindergarten registrations as of, it looks like, the 9th of this month. Very healthy.
Yeah, we're still trying to get in contact with a couple of our kindergarten parents to finalize some paperwork, but we're including those kids in the count, knowing we have to be very thoughtful around our numbers in the coming year.
So a question around this, because I'm dealing with this with college now, and obviously grades like with vaccinations and stuff and kids and COVID and nobody being able to go to the doctors. Have regulations changed at all when this stuff is due? Or are we giving any grace periods or?
So that regulatory relief is part of what the Board of Regents began discussing today. And I know there's a lot of information out there, but what I think it's important to say too is the Board of Regents meets over the next 3 days. So
Right.
what was on the agenda could change and could shift. So really it's Wednesday we are expecting that final information around any number of things that included, Jeff.
Okay, gotcha. Because I gotta believe there's gonna be a backlog. All right, superintendent's comments.
Okay, and I know I have given a shout out to Mr. Herman at our prior meetings for all of our planning, his planning relative to graduation, because we really, I think Lorenz had an A, B, C, D. I can't tell you how many different plans he had, because much like reopening, we were waiting to see what, if anything, we could do for graduation. I will say it was different, but it was, all things considered, I think, quite the tribute to our kids. So again, I thank Lorenz and I thank all of the folks who participated in any way, shape, or form for making that happen. Again, I would be remiss without a shout out to the village for allowing us the space, and for DPW for helping us with the setup. Without their help transporting and setting up chairs in the manner in which they needed to be set up, there was no way we could have pulled that off. So thank you again to them. And if you have not had a chance to watch it, and I know many of you could not be there in person because of the limitations, there is a link on our webpage, and it lives now on YouTube. So take a look. It really was great. As usual, the kids did a phenomenal job with their speeches. And it was just a great event all around. I can't say enough about it. My second item is the school safety plan. Each year, we have to update and revise our school safety plan, and there are pieces of that are public and pieces of that that obviously we don't want to be public because they would compromise safety in the event of an emergency. Again, this year we worked with Cap Region BOCES Health and Safety Services to do that. And Mrs. Schroeder worked in conjunction with Mrs. Canavo and BOCES. So now that Jen can continue to do that moving forward for us, that has to sit for a 30-day comment period. So it was put up this past Friday on the webpage for any public comment. And then you will see that come back on the August agenda for board approval and for discussion of any comments that come in during that 30-day period.
Okay.
That's all I have, Jeff.
Okay. Move along to informational material. Next board meeting is August 10th, Monday at 6:30 p.m. And
Can I chime in right there for a second, Jeff? I did send in the update. We do have open positions that we are in the process of interviewing for, obviously in a little bit different manner than we typically do. But that said, the possibility exists that we may need to have a second August meeting in order to appoint folks to be up and running for the start of the school year. So let me pull up my calendar if I can. So right now we are scheduled for August 10th. What I would ask the board, again, we try not to interfere with the village board meeting. So if we go 2 weeks out, that would be the 24th. If we were to stick to a Monday, I just don't know if people have conflicts on the 24th, and certainly you don't need to let me know now. But I would like to have a tentative date in the event we hold a meeting.
I'm available on the 24th.
I am as well.
I'll be
I'm
on vacation,
available.
but I could potentially join by phone.
I should be available.
And I'm available.
Would this be a full board meeting or just really more for the hiring?
Unless something comes up that changes drastically between August 10th and the start of the school year that is beyond our control, I think it would really just be those personnel appointments. I know right now we are allowed through August 5th. The executive order was extended for remote meetings. We'll see if that changes with other things this week. I'm kind of hopeful we can come together in person because I'm really almost certain, I won't say 100% certain, that we will be in our new space in our community room for our August 10th meeting. And then we'll wait and see what that is. And then Courtney, there is a possibility, and we've used it for other board members in the past, that if you are remote and want to participate, we can accommodate that as well. But if you wanted to be on vacation, I understand that too, and we would still have a quorum.
All right. Information, let's see, we did the informational material, miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything?
I do.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. So John mentioned earlier in the meeting about our students' social and emotional well-being. That extends over into the community forum that we're all involved with, the village and members of the PTA, and extending that out to more members of our community. Keeping all of that in mind, we want to just make sure we're thinking of everybody, not just obviously I think of my kids because they're in school, and I'll think of your kids because I know most of them, but we want to think of everyone in the community, social, emotional well-being. Take a break from the news and decompress and get your head out of COVID. All that being said, I was able and lucky enough to grab a copy of the yearbook. They ordered some extra copies, and I went and got mine. And I have to say that, Dr. Long, I was able to pick your picture out of the graduated class in a heartbeat. And I know Mr. Herman is online, and I was not able to pick his out. But it's okay, Mr. Herman, because I saw your TikTok end of year video thing, and it pleased me very much to see it. So thank you very much.
I have something also. I want to thank the new PTA board for applying for a grant. The National PTA had a COVID grant. They asked us to pick an area that we thought would be a need for our school come fall. School administration helped us identify social emotional wellness as a need for our students in the fall. And the new board applied for a $5,000 grant to help with responsive classroom and some other possible activities that the PTA could maybe do for our students. And the new board has been, they've been the new board for like 2 weeks, and they pulled it together. And I want to thank them, especially Tammy McNamara. And we'll find out August 5th. Hopefully we get it, fingers crossed. So thanks, guys.
Sorry, Courtney, who was that grant through?
It's a national PTA grant.
Okay, gotcha. Great. Anybody else have anything?
I'll just mention the graduation. I did watch it through the live stream, and although it was different, it was beautiful, and it was so nice to see the children have that opportunity to receive their diploma, take a picture, and you put so many things in place. So thank you to the whole graduation team, and again, congratulations to the class of 2020.
Anybody else? All right. We'll move along to public comment. Please note during the public comment sessions, members of the community may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items. The board president may limit remarks of individual speakers to a reasonable time, and speakers must identify themselves on the topic on which they would like to make remarks. I only have one more question that came in. It was just more of a comment. I don't see anything in the chat. Is that correct, Dr. Long?
Correct, Jeff.
Okay. The last one comes from Steve Boulay, who asked the previous two questions this evening. I want to thank you for answering all of my questions on the concerns I raised. I appreciated the detailed descriptions of the change orders. I'm glad you're also working towards adding and replacing water fountain access for students. Thank you for the hard work you are all doing to bring better educational opportunities to our students. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Mr. Boulay. Anything else? I don't see anything else, Dr. Long.
Nope, I just refreshed. I don't see anything else coming in, Jeff.
So we will need a motion to adjourn if there is no other comments.
I think it's me. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion.
Sure.
Aye.
Bye.
Closed. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who attended this evening as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for everybody for coming. Have a good week, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good night.